but just we will otherwise move on. So I'm happy to introduce Eloise, who's going to be moderating the speed round session. We are missing one of the speakers at the moment, just so that you know. So we have Eric, Eloise, and hold on a sec. We have Eric, Rose, sorry, let me start. We have Nee, Eric, and Wondia are here, and Rosalia was having some challenges. So we'll just change the order up, I think, a little bit, because she was supposed to go second in order. So we'll just, if she manages to connect, we'll put her in the last spot. But other than that, Eloise, I'm happy to hand the floor over to you when you're ready. No? Go ahead, Steph.
She's just asked me to send her another invite, so I'm going to do that right now.
Oh, okay. Another connection issue. It's what we expect. Are you sending her a connection invite as a panelist? Or just as an attendee, just so we know where to find her?
Yeah, as an attendee, it's the fastest way.
Okay. So as we're waiting for Eloise to reconnect, which is interesting because I can see another version of her in the attendee list now. Oh, there she is. Wait, I lost her. Is someone moving her? Okay. There she is.
And we're a go.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Sorry, I had accepted the invitation on my phone. I was upstairs getting some coffee. Hi, everybody, and thank you so much, Anita, for inviting me to facilitate this speed round. And so if we're taking Rosalia to the end, I'm going to start directly with Alexander. Is that correct? Alexander, negotiating inheritance rules, land access, and climate change adaptation, University of Ghana.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Adjei or Nee.
Exactly.
Nee, you got me confused. Too many names. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
So Nee is going to speak about matrilineal and patrilineal inheritance of land in Ghana and how this may have land use impact. Please go ahead in terms of climate change.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm not hearing anything.
Please, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So just before you go ahead, I just want to check. I can give each speaker 5 minutes. Is that correct? So I'm going to give you the 2 minute. I'm going to wave when you've got 1 minute left, and then you've got to wrap up quickly. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to share my screen, and it's telling me it's unable to do that.
Oh, maybe you have to enable sharing.
Yes, I'm trying to do that.
I can share it for you, Nee, if you'd like.
Yeah, because I sent it to you, I realized I had a problem.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Okay, so I would speak on navigating inheritance through land access and climate change adaptation. And this became very important to me because of how context-specific factors influence adaptation. Please, shall we go on? So climate change adaptation has become very, very important because it continues to affect livelihoods. Climate change continues to affect livelihoods, especially smallholder farmers. And the need to adapt is constrained or enhanced within context, especially for smallholder farmers who depend on land. and access to land are influenced by context-specific factors. And then it means that then there is unequal access between men and women, and even sometimes migrants and indigenous that tend to become disadvantageous to them and increases their vulnerability. That is sensitivity and exposure to climate variability impacts. We shall go on. So this work sought to examine how access to land is differentiated between men and women, and also explore the influence of inheritance patterns on access to land, the gendered access to land, and then finally to look at how people navigate contextual and cultural limitations on access to land. So this work was done using a mixed method design that was conducted in a sequential manner. First, there was a general contextual observation to understand the context, understand the cultural milieu and contextual issues. Then there was an initial survey, which was followed by focus group discussions. And then there were interviews of family leaders, community leaders to understand context-specific factors that may enhance or limit access to land, which would in turn also affect adaptation. Please, shall we go on? Please move on. I've spoken about this already. All right, so in terms of access to land, there are different land access arrangements and land use arrangements across the two areas that the work was conducted. So the work was conducted in two ecological zones. That's the transitional zone in the Nkoranza South District, and then in the Savannah in the Boku West District. So the focus was to understand how our land use arrangements, like how do people access land, and then what is the nature of the inheritance system, and how does it influence land access. So it was generally found that inherited and family land is the dominant source of land for most people around the two areas. However, in the Nkoranza South area, they have multiple forms of land access rules. So there is annual rent, there is what we usually call labor tenancies. And then there's also the begging system, where you go to people who have access to large area of land and they will give you some. But this is usually practiced in Boku West area. Please, shall we go on? So what I found with the gendered differentiated access was that there is a lot of limitation, and there's usually no control for women, especially in the Boku West District, where access to land is only guaranteed through husbands, sons, or fathers. So women, and they practice the patrilineal inheritance system, where men have inheritance rights are passed on through the male line.
1 minute left.
So men control of land in the matrilineal culture. Men also control land in matrilineal cultures, where inheritance is reckoned through the female line. But in this case, female tend to have access because it is through the female line, despite men having the control in terms of the distributions. And then in terms of the distribution generally, you find that women have limited access in terms of land size and then ability to control the land. So we found that men generally, they have an average of 5 hectares of land, and then women just somewhere below 1.5 or 1.5 hectares. Please, shall we go on? Then in terms of how they are navigating, women tend to navigate this thing. And then I separated this between Boku West and Nkoranza South because they tend to be very different. So for Nkoranza South, they tend to secure control through changing land use patterns, like shared crop or shared investment with spouses. And also they take advantage of the varied land.
Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's also there's increasing diversification.
Your time is up. Your time is up, but I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds.
Okay. So in Boku West, the access accessing community land is a way of navigating, and also collective farming is one way that women have found to get access to land. And also they also—
You're muted. You're muted.
Okay.
Sorry, you got muted. So just wrap up, one last sentence. What is your conclusion? What is your conclusion?
So basically, the work sought to understand how context-specific factors like inheritance pattern affect access to land for smallholder farmers. Thank you.
That is incredible. Thank you for letting me push you a little bit, but what an incredible finding. Who would have said that that we can intersect climate and inheritance? This is incredible work. Thank you, Nee. Can we take questions now? No, at the end.
Yeah, it's a group question at the end.
Perfect. Thank you. So we're going straight on, moving along steadily. Rosalia is not here. So Eric Coffee Doe. Eric Doe. Eric is going to speak to us again about intensive agriculture and in the cocoa crops. Thank you so much, Eric. I will give you the 4-minute sign, and then you'll have 1 minute left. Please go ahead. And we can't hear you, Nee.
I think you mean Eric. Eric, you're on mute, just so you know.
Sorry, Eric. My bad. Eric, we can't hear you. There you go.
Okay.
We can see you. Now let's see if we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm just about to share my screen.
It's shared. We can see it.
Okay. So now it's now in presentation mode. Thank you very much. My name is Eric Doe. I'm from the University of Ghana Department of Geography and Resource Development, and my supervisors are Professor Emmanuel Morganetia and then Dr. Amos Kojukwe from the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana. I'm presenting to you on ecological intensification of cocoa cropping system with soil, microbial biomass, and land productivity. I believe the presentation of Dr. Adjei has actually made my work very, very easy. I'll start with the background methods that I use and some of the preliminary findings. And as you are well aware, cocoa is a global commodity that is worth $10 billion and employs over 50 million people. And the demand for it is actually increasing with human population growth. But as Dr. Adjei said, we have a challenge with the declining trend of soil fertility, forest cover, biodiversity, with each export of the commodity. In fact, if you look at the studies of Labran et al., Labran 2021, he found that every 10 tons of chocolate produced requires 7 tons of cocoa beans from 14 hectares of cocoa farmland that you actually have about 25 or more percent of permanent shade tree that is able to sequester about 200 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in order to reduce global warming and to mitigate climate change. But with the conventional cocoa cropping system that Dr. Adjei talked about, we have a problem. And because of the mass application of the pesticides and fertilizers that are being introduced or are used to manage the farm. So conventionally, the Kyoto Protocol has put a lot of pressure on Ghana to make the cocoa production system consistent with its ecosystem services that it can be derived from it. So this study is actually trying to explore stakeholders' perception towards ecological or organic cocoa cropping system in comparison with the conventional cropping systems, to examine the differences in their land and soil productivity, and also explore for some of the challenges in upscaling ecological cocoa intensification. Actually, there are several factors, including climate, soil properties, age, variety, that can affect the productivity of cocoa. So because of that, I selected my sample from climate-induced cocoa production zone from high, moderate, and low cocoa production zones. And I I went to the field, did some in-depth interviews and farm measurements and took soil samples for analysis to get the differences in their land and soil productivity. I'm talking currently about the land productivity results so far. And you can see from the farms that I went to, unfortunately, we found some of the farms in the Papasi district in the forest reserves, and the conventional farms are the red colored polygons you see. I also visited the Sohum district where you have the organic cocoa farms. So these are the farms that were examined. I actually characterize these farms based on the attributes that can influence cocoa productivity. And I found out that the conventional cocoa is the highest, gives us the highest productivity of about 555 kilograms per acre, followed by the organic one, which gives about 400 kilograms per acre, and the farms that are in the reserve give the lowest productivity. So my goal is to examine the productivity difference. So I use a one-way analysis of variance, and I saw that actually the differences that we have observed with conventional cocoa being the highest is actually not statistically significant. In fact,
1 minute.
Okay, so and this finding is consistent with so many of the authors, but such as Samariba, Rajab, and Cloud, but contrary to Jokoto and Asigba and co. But the farmers actually indicate their preference for the ecological cocoa intensification system because of its human health and soil ecosystem benefits. So these are the trends. If you look at the production by acreage, you will think that production is actually increasing by expansion of acreage, which is one of the findings that of Adjei observed. But if you divide that acreage by the output by the acreage, you realize that the conventional cocoa cropping system is actually worse off because the productivity decreases with aging of the farm, and the conventional cocoa productivity is actually increasing with aging, which means that the ecological organic cocoa farm is more resilient than the conventional one, and therefore needs to be upscaled because of its healthier and resilient characteristics, and in order for us to explore the benefit that we can derive from it globally in terms of its ecosystem benefit. The study is ongoing to examine the soil productivity. Thank you very much.
You did it in time. That is very interesting. Your findings were fascinating and raise a number of questions, especially in relation to Enoch's earlier presentation. I hope the chat box will light up with questions. Please, can we move now to, I'm very pleased to introduce you to Wondia Yo, and Wondia is part of the Open Air network of researchers, the Open Africa Innovation Research Network. And I would love to hand it over to you, Wondia.
Thank you, Eloise. Let me share my screen.
Wondia, was your partnership with Ottawa University of Ottawa? No.
Yes,
yes.
With Open Air, yes.
Yes, okay, good. Go ahead. Welcome, go ahead.
Thank you. Hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
So, hello everyone, and thank you, the organizers. My name is Wondia, and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Johannesburg under the program, the Trilateral Chair in Transformative Innovation, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, Sustainable Development. And my supervisors are Prof. Erika Kramer-Mbula and Dr. Lucy Baker. And I'm also a Queen Elizabeth Scholar with Open Air. And the title of my research is The Potential for a Sustainable and Inclusive Energy Transition in Côte d'Ivoire, a Gender Approach. I'll start by sharing the rationale behind my study. The energy sector is one of the main contributors to greenhouse gases emissions, and renewable energies contribute to climate change mitigation. The energy transition is happening in several countries, especially in Côte d'Ivoire, which faces challenges at the environmental, social, technological, and policy levels. And the literature reveals that women are the most affected by the lack of access to energy. And women and men have different opportunities to engage in and influence the solutions for electricity provision. Renewable energy projects are more effective when gender is considered by including women's and men's needs, experience, interest, and knowledge. And the format of my PhD is under publishable articles. So one of my research articles is focusing on pay-as-you-go technologies. I just submitted my research proposal to my university, and I'm preparing for the data collection. So I'm going to provide a brief description, which is not exhaustive, of pay-as-you-go technologies. So these are innovations used to provide access to renewable energy systems at affordable prices. And the payments are flexible and facilitated by a combination of mobile banking and machine-to-machine technologies. And the PEG systems can be composed by solar home systems, or by micro biomass systems, or by small-scale hydropower systems. And as you can see on the picture, solar home systems using pay-as-you-go technologies are composed by solar PV panels, by light bulb, and also some appliances such as radio, television, and a battery storage, and also mobile banking system. And the PEG services have different models, lease to own or usage-based payments. And pay-as-you-go technologies have potential for transformative changes. It allows the provision of affordable and sustainable access to energy, and the reduction in the use of poor quality polluting fuels for lighting in rural areas, such as kerosene, paraffin lamps. It also allows for financial inclusion, but does it allow for gender inclusion? And this is the focus of this paper. So my research question is, to what extent have pay-as-you-go technologies shaped practices that could enhance gender equity? And my study seeks to investigate and analyze how PEG technologies consider gender in the provision of access to electricity for users, how women and men's needs, experience, and behavior are taken into account, how delivery channels of PEG technologies are inclusive to accommodate women and men customers. And this is in terms of the office, the location of the office, or the social norms, or the mode of payments. And what are the best practices to ensure equal access to and benefit from PEG technologies? And these best practices could be the conditions for the eligibility criteria for consumers. As for the methodology, I am using a qualitative research method through primary and secondary data. And for the primary data, I will conduct semi-structured interviews with actors of the renewable energy sector, with companies using
1 minute to go.
With users and suppliers of the technology. As for the secondary data, I will look at international institutions' reports, official documentation, the gray literature, and the academic literature also. I will also look at policy documents. And for the theoretical framework, I'm using the feminist political ecology, FPE, and this one puts gender as a critical element of analysis. And this theory holds that men and women have different ways of engaging with the management of natural resources. Thank you. I'll be happy to receive comments and answer any questions you may have.
You did very well. You ended early. Thank you very much. So since we don't have our fourth speaker, or can I check in the house whether Rosalia has arrived? No. We have 5 minutes for listen to me, 5 minutes for questions. I see there's one in the box here. Nee. Onita asks, you noted that women tend to work more in collectives. Is this related to women having smaller farm sizes overall compared with men or other factors? Eric, did you find that the eco-organic farms had better insect diversity than conventional? As it seems like you and Enoch could consider some joint research. Wondia, can you expand on the feminist political economy a bit more, framework a bit more? So we have three questions. Please kick off. Nee.
Okay, so the women working in collective has to do more with their ability to access land alone, especially in the Boko West district, where the inheritance system tend to be patrilineal, therefore access to women tend to be limited. So in order for them to have control over the land they have access to, they work in collectives. And then that is one of the ways that they are able to navigate the patrilineal systems and then get access to that. And normally they tend to use community land or land they obtain from the chiefs or community leaders. So it has nothing to do with the size, but it is a way of navigating the limitations on their access to land.
And credit. Their access to credit as well. That's what I understood you to say. Am I right?
Yes, because when they are in collective, it's easier for them to get credit to invest in the land rather than going alone to either a savings alone or even an NGO that is supporting.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. That's good information. Eric, did you find that your insect diversity amongst?
Yeah, that is an interesting suggestion that we're exploring, but actually probably I collaborate with Dr. Adjei. I could go into that because currently my study did not go into insect diversity. My study will go into shade tree, permanent shade tree diversity and soil microbial biodiversity, but not insects. So probably if I work with Dr. Adjei, probably he could give me or provide the expertise in finding the species of insects that are observable in the cocoa farms. Thank you.
Thank you. Wondia, do you want to talk about the feminist political economy as a framework?
Sure. So the feminist political ecology is a framework that was developed by Wangari and Rationale in 1996. And it holds that gender plays a role in the access to natural resources and also on the control over natural resources. And it put a focus on livelihoods and social differences. It also sees women as agents of change. And there are three main aspects in this theoretical framework. The first one is gendered knowledge. And from my research article, I will use that element to analyze how women and men gain knowledge on this new technology, how they are able to access education about this technology, and also how they're able to have technological skills from this technology. And the second element is gendered environmental rights and responsibilities. And under this aspect, I will analyze the social norms, how women and men's rights are perceived and understood, and what are the responsibilities and what is expected from them. And the last one, the last aspect is gendered politics and grassroots. And here I will basically see how men and women are actively engaged, how they participate in decision-making regarding the sector and the technology. So this is a brief description.
Very helpful framework and possibly something that Nee could look at as well. In fact, it would be very interesting for Eric to do an intersection between gender and organic farming as well. So I've learned so much from all of you in this speed round. I could do some more speed dating with you guys. I think we've managed to get it in time. We're 2 minutes over 11. So thank you. What an incredible opportunity to share your knowledge. Thank you so much and all of the best to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Thanks
you very much.
everyone. Great.